All right. We're live on YouTube.
Yes.
And take it
Okay.
away.
Hot topic.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to 50 Shades of Red at Night. I'm your host, Naomi Minhas, and I'm so sorry. We've been trying to do this for like an hour.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. She said we, but what she meant to say was I have been trying to figure this out for an hour.
We wouldn't be even live.
As in us, all of us.
We'll take one for the team.
We have Solomon with us, and we're going to be discussing hot topics from this week, current events, updates. Solomon, did you have anything you wanted to start with?
Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna throw a softball pitch up there because I feel like we're gonna start off with an easy one. I think one of the not the bigger stories, but one of the somewhat more of a hypocritical story that I heard this week was the apparent they're going to investigate Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for a campaign finance violation when she was the main one talking about dark money and talking about kind of bringing some sort of integrity back to politics. Like I said, nothing has she hasn't been convicted of anything, but I just think the fact that it's like about her and she was the main one because I remember when I saw her in the oversight. She was in an oversight hearing, and that's what she was sitting there talking to somebody about. And they had this funny clip where she was basically asking kind of some of these dumb questions. And, she was talking to him about dark money and basically saying, so there's no limit on the amount of money that I can receive from someone the government doesn't know about. And the guy was like, well, I mean, if we don't know about it, how are we supposed to regulate? It was a really, really dumb question, but, that would be something that we can start with. Did you hear about that story?
Yeah. I heard that she actually had given her boyfriend money or funneled money to her boyfriend or something like that. And that was where the red flag was raised. I honestly didn't look into it because anything with her name in it, I tend not to click on or listen to. I just know it's going to go nowhere. But speaking of people not being convicted or being convicted, we're going to move on to Paul Manafort, who as of an hour ago was sentenced to 47 months in prison for convictions stemming from Special Counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into Russian collusion in the presidential campaign of 2016. So it says, I'm reading in.
Go ahead. I was going to say
it said Manafort, who's 69, mind you, he's a good-looking 69, was facing up to 25 years in prison. It could have essentially kept him in jail for the rest of his life. However, he has gotten a sentence of 47 months in prison as of today. And then I think he made a statement. It says, the last 2 years have been the most difficult for my family and I. Humiliated and shame would be a gross understatement. So people are saying that because of the information he's provided, this will continue down to Roger Stone and eventually to President Trump's hopeful, what's the word I'm looking for here?
Conviction?
Impeachment.
Well, he's going to run again if he's not impeached in 2020.
But they're saying the amount of time it would take him to get impeached would be the end of his second term if he won.
Right. And it seems like it's all been planned. It's all been just scripted, for lack of a better expression to it.
And I think that them now incorporating Roger Stone, who has an update in court as well, he was a part of the hot topics, is that now the judge is saying that Roger Stone has threatened him on Instagram. And I actually seen the post where he reposted something about someone threatening the judge in his case. And now the judge is saying he directly threatened him. Roger Stone then goes on to Instagram and posts all this stuff related to his case and a non-gag order or gag order, whatever they issued him. And now the judge is holding him kind of in contempt of court, or at least he's trying to. So now he's looking at additional prison time for things unrelated to what he initially was bringing to court for.
Huh.
Which I kind of feel like Roger Stone in this case is just another step to get to Trump. I mean, honestly, Manafort and him have no no correlation in terms of Russian collusion. They're saying that Roger Stone was a part of WikiLeaks and that he helped leak WikiLeaks, and also that he forged a fake WikiLeaks to help the president win the election.
Right, but I guess my question would be is in Manafort, when he was sentenced for 4, what were the actual counts though?
I don't know. It just came in like an hour ago. They didn't have any counts or anything listed from what I found. I mean, it might be up now, but I pulled this information an hour ago when it first came out. So I don't know what the actual counts are. That would be nice to know. We probably should have been more prepared.
Something else.
What?
I said, I think it was like tax evasion.
Was it tax evasion? But that's not even relevant to what they're saying he did.
Because he nothing that they're talking about any type of Russian collusion or anything that had to do with Trump. There is none. He was not charged for anything like that. It's like Michael Cohen. He's like, yeah, I'm going to jail for 3 years. Nothing on there. That campaign finance violation had nothing to do with his jail time. He's going to jail for the bank stuff.
So I wonder why the media is now using these headlines that aren't directly associated with the charges with these people's names. Obviously it's a liberal news cycle and a liberal agenda to make the public think these two things are connected by constantly putting them next to each other in the media.
Well, the war goes on. That's what happens. They know 2020 is coming up, so they're establishing a certain platform right now so that they can go ahead and influence, especially on a liberal and democratic platform. So it's just strategics. It's going to go on throughout the rest of this, and the clarity will come up eventually anyway. So
I also want to talk about, I'm just going to breeze through these couple ones. I want to talk about another thing that you guys might not know, but this one is actually the most important topic for me before we get to the main topic that I want to talk about tonight. So the Senate floor has a bill circulating around that could affect all the Americans in regards to vaccination and anti-vaccination. So the bill essentially wants to put into place where it's going to be mandatory vaccinations across the country. That's the end goal.
Let me interject real quick. Is that for flu or is that for all vaccinations?
All vaccinations. And it applies to adults as well. So there are 40 new vaccinations that have presented for adults that if you're over 21, if this goes through, you would be mandated to put this in your body, whether you want to or not. And employers could even go on and say, if you don't have these vaccinations, you can't work. Just like children who don't have them can't go to school. This would be something put into place to that effect. But there are 11 states, one including Pennsylvania, that has drafted its own bill in response to this, stating they are now broadening the excuses for not getting vaccinated. So the number one excuse is religious belief. The second excuse, as of now, the second excuse was theoretical belief, I think it's phrased. So like when I don't vaccinate my kids, I always fill out philosophy. It's theoretical or philosophy. One of those words in there. But it's basically what you think could harm your child, but it's not religious. But
the thing is this, what I have an issue with that is that, what about the health? You said it's over 21. So that means like, if this is implemented, somebody like me would be mandatory to have vaccination. What about health conditions? What about adverse effects to what the vaccination is? So they didn't consider any of that?
The current law considers it. So there are children with medical, like low immunity that can't have vaccinations because it's life-threatening. This new law doesn't acknowledge that.
You may instantly kill someone.
But they feel like the risk is worth more than is worth more in this case. And that's, a lot of mothers are fighting it because a lot of mothers have children with health conditions who would be excluded.
It's just not rational to not count those who have health issues with this vaccination, because they're not going to break down and explain exactly what the vaccination is. I look at it as a financial gain. I look at it as something that they're trying to expound on financially. To mandate this is ridiculous.
Well, the states that are rebelling against it, like Pennsylvania, as of February 2019, the American Academy of Pediatrics says that they have to broaden the reasons why parents can exempt kids from getting vaccines, even if there isn't a medical need. And now they require doctors to provide more information on the risk of vaccines. So in PA, we're safe, but if this goes through, you know, eventually it could move on to what they just passed. And like my children's pediatrician, I've been with her for like 7 years. And initially I went to her because she didn't care if you didn't vaccinate. Now she literally told me and my girlfriend, if you guys don't start vaccinating, I'm going to have to kick you out the practice. Really? So my girlfriend, she said she was getting in trouble by the state because a lot of her patients were vaccinating. So now she's sick of it and she's going to have to self-delete a practice. So my girlfriend's going on Tuesday. I told her, because this law is passed in Pennsylvania stating that we can have a broader excuse of why we're not vaccinating and require her as a provider to say, hey, these risks come with this. That's discrimination if she tells us we cannot stay in her practice.
But what is your platform on the vaccination issue? Because you have to.
I'm
it's easy for me without kids to say.
I'm anti-vaccination or different vaccination schedule. So with Gia was on a alternate schedule, meaning instead of them giving her 4 shots one day, she would get 1 shot a year until she caught up. And that 1 shot a year just allows your system to like fight back and rebuild and do what it has to do when you're putting that stuff in your body. And then with RJ, it started off alternate, but then I stopped certain vaccinations altogether because I was more informed, you know, this time around. So certain things RJ does not have.
Do you think that's detrimental to the public? As if, say, if you don't vaccinate your kids,
if you don't vaccinate,
and they get ill, and then
I don't believe it is, and that's from personal experience. Like I've met a family in their 50s, 5 kids, all in their 50s and 60s, who their parents, Judy was with me, who their parents never vaccinated them. They said they had no problems. Some of them got the measles, they were fine. Some of them got mumps, they were fine. Their immunity was built up.
It's because different genetics, different backgrounds, different. You know, that's all going to have to play into this factor. Now, everybody's going to be genetically the same.
But what we're not seeing here is the other factors that go into it aside from genetics. Healthy lifestyles can help your immunity be boosted. You know, drug use would lower your immunity.
Right.
You know,
and let me interject real quick.
Come into play.
For those who are naive to that, because so many people are. It's not our fault. It's their fault that they don't understand. They're going to practice those lifestyles regardless. And what do you do? You know, so they should. And I totally in total agreement. People should be conscious of your health, well-being, how you bring people up, and it's the genesis of that. If you put that strong foundation in, it doesn't even have a matter of how much money you earn and all of these things. It's a matter of having some practical and some positive reinforcements in your family. So that way, if you make those decisions like that they're more promising than for the addict who could care less and all of this kind of stuff. So,
well, like one consequence, and I don't think other parents do this, or the ones I've followed them. Like we don't go to Disneyland. We can't go to Disneyland because RJ doesn't have certain vaccinations, and there's a lot of people from other countries that go to Disneyland. Right. So as a conscious mother, I'm not going to put him in too big of a situation that he could get something and have to deal with it. You know what I mean? Now, if he gets it just in regular life, like say he gets the measles, okay, it's been noted that the measles could kill from 3 down. He is going on 5 years old. He has a better chance of fighting the measles. But let's say my kid did get the measles. You want to know what I'm going to do? I'm going to rush him to my pediatrician and get the shot. Yeah. Because at that point, I need to be proactive. You know, He's got it. Let me reduce the effects that come with it. Now he can get the vaccine. But I'm not just going to shove this shit in his body and hope that it prevents anything. Because vaccines don't prevent anything. Right. You can still get the disease.
And I think being preliminary as they are, we're trying to make this a mandatory issue is probably just at the end of the day, it's a financial.
It is definitely financial.
We need a budget so that we can do this, so that everybody can be protected. That way we can't miss. Is their rationale, but it's not substantiated because, you know, if you do the numbers, not everybody's going to be immune from certain things that's going on.
And they're saying
it's hard to predict that.
There was 11 cases of measles in the last 2 months, right?
Absolutely.
But there was only 1 death in the last 4 years.
That's right.
So and they're pulling these numbers, but 2 of those people actually had the vaccine, but they're not like spreading this news that people who got it also had the vaccine. And then the people who got it, they were exposed to people traveling from Israel. Mm-hmm. So it's not like you're just getting it and passing. I'll give you another example. Say you lived in New York and you take the subway every day. It would not be smart of you not to get vaccinated because you're exposed to different people in the subway every day.
And the tragedy is not everybody's that rational. And that's the sad thing. You can't listen to what people don't want to understand or embrace.
Exactly. If I lived in a different city, or if I had a different means of transportation, or if I couldn't control the bubble, so to speak, I would for sure vaccinate my kids. I would. But I know that I don't need to because I'm proactive and I'm well aware of their surroundings. Right. And I just think that's
an interesting platform that you raised, because especially with public trans, there's probably a lot of things going on because you got so many different dynamics on public transportation. It's not the healthiest transportation, not to insult it. It's just not a healthy mode of transportation. I mean, how can it be? You have a potpourri of everybody and everything on all these lines of transportation. So you don't know that you're going to have the person that's slept on the train all night, and you're going to have this other person that's this and this. So
I just think that if they start mandating us to put things in our body that A, they're not educating us on, B, that we all don't agree on, where does that, like we were talking about the last time we were on, we were talking about people being slaves and getting off the plantation. We're back on the plantation, if you think about it. This is America, land of the free. If we don't have the freedom over our bodies, then what else? What do we have freedom of? We were slaves, we have freedom of our bodies then. Now they're injecting us with shit. I mean, where does it stop? If this goes through, my thing is, when are there going to be limits to what they can and cannot do to us?
And if they just pass people, depending on their background and demographics, are going to question, what is this vaccine? You, me, Solomon, and others that think like this would question, what is this vaccination?
Well, Solomon, when you were in the military, did you have to get mandatory vaccines?
Sure.
So, did you question
you just go through the line and they just prick you and you keep moving.
Yeah. I was like in school too. I had to you just get it.
Well, I'll give you another example. So Gia, she's 10. She went to the pediatrician and they tried to give her this HPV vaccine. And immediately I was like, whoa. Isn't that for people who are sexually active? And my pediatrician goes, yeah, it's to prevent yada, yada, sexually transmitted diseases and things like that. And I said, well, my daughter's 10. She said, well, you don't know what she's getting into. I said, what? Like, first of all, it's my daughter. I think I would know what she's getting. Like, I know. And she says, kids do things all the time their parents don't know about. I said, perfect. And that's my business with my daughter, not your business to put a vaccine in her that doesn't even apply to where she's at in life right now. It's not like she's 16, 17. But who are you to take it into your own hands to assume you should be giving that to my child? And she says, well, the schedule aligns with it. I said, I don't care what schedule you have. She's not getting it. And she asked Gia, do you want it? And Gia said, I'm not putting anything. I don't know what it is in my body.
Right. It's assembly line vaccination. And what has me astonished about all of this is that they don't consider the health aspects of everybody. We're not all made the same and have the same genetic things like that. They're just saying this is a generalized vaccination for everyone. You have to get it. It's mandatory.
I want to see what there was a time last year where there was a senator who was anti-vaccination and he was Republican. I would like to see what these candidates for 2020 are going to say regarding this, because a lot of them don't touch this topic. They don't touch it. They don't touch it because they don't want the backlash. And it's a really touchy subject when you're talking about kids, especially in vaccinations and the healthcare and the money and all that. So I'd be curious to see if anybody brings this up. And also, Trump has instituted that new prescription drug disclosure. So I don't know if you noticed, but I seen one of the commercials where on TV they have to state the price of the drug now.
Yeah.
Which is amazing, because that should have been happening. You shouldn't be surprised going to pick up a drug. Now you can tell your doctor, hey, I can't afford it. Don't even write the script now, So you're saving time, but I wonder if that'll be kind of the way they approach vaccinations. Like, oh, it's time for your child to get their 4-month shots, but just it's included.
Let me ask you, is the Democrats supporting this strongly, this proposal, or are you doing the numbers for that?
Yeah, I actually do. For the most part, they are. They're not like putting specifically who's voting for it, but
You know who sponsored the bill? Who created this bill?
I'm going to show you. Hold on.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it sounds like, you know, I don't think anything should be mandatory. That's just my. I mean, it doesn't matter really to me what it is. I don't think anything should be mandatory.
It sounds so retroactive. It sounds like Jazzy.
It was a bipartisan bill.
Yeah, and then that's ridiculous to me. I don't care if it was a Democrat or Republican who started. Like, to me, the fact that you're going to mandate somebody to actually put something in their body, like,
yeah,
you know, it's like
all non-medical. Wait a minute, hold on. Let me correct what I said earlier, Tommy. It says it will remove non-medical exemptions for vaccinations.
Okay.
So yeah,
because they
so
have
medical.
to do that if they're going to implement.
Yeah, but that's weird because the women, I'm a part of this huge vaccine group. The women in there whose children have low immunity, they were like, no, it's bullshit. The underwriting states that they could still they have to define what medical is, basically. Mm-hmm. So if you go and say your child has these medical conditions and the provider doesn't feel that they qualify, you would still need to.
I have a question. What about the history of the person for their children? What if you're diabetic and all of this prior to your child getting this? Will that make an influence whether the child should even have the vaccination?
I don't think
to the parental histories, because
they're not thinking that far in depth about it.
Yeah, they got to work those kinks out to even consider.
And okay, we have
such a ridiculous proposal.
The people interested. The bill was drafted by Representative Mitch Greenlick, Democrat of Portland, Representative Sherry Helt, Representative Bend, Senator Chuck Thompson, Republican Representative Hood River as chief co-sponsors. He says, I believe in science, the safety of our children, and insensible fact-based public policy. We should close this loophole that places children, families, and community at risk of illness and death from diseases.
What were they stimulated by? A child dying? I saw
the recent
kid died of the flu or something like that. But
no, there's been 11 measles cases that prompted this bill. So, I mean, we'll see how it plays out. But the next and most important from this week is R. Kelly.
R. Kelly is more important than measles and our kids. Once again, as I had to say a couple of weeks ago, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Once again, the opinions and thoughts expressed by Naomi Minhas do not necessarily reflect the views of the channel.
Of course, I love the kids. No, but I was really, it's been an outrage on social media. Hopefully that outrage can go down to the measles situation, but it's not. About R. Kelly and his recent sit-down interview with Oprah's Gayle.
Like, I'll just put it like this. I'm not outraged about R. Kelly only because it's like we banned before, and only because everybody was, it's like, to me, if it takes a documentary for you to get outraged, then to me it's fake. Because the same thing they're trying to do now, they're trying to slide Michael Jackson on there. Oh, they're taking his music off. And people are like, oh, that's not right. He was never convicted of anything. Neither was R. Kelly. He's guilty. And this is like, it's the same thing.
You know what's really weird? We're living in a society where all this stuff is boiling to the surface. You're pulling, it's like society's pulling out all the stops on just anyone, even suspected of any type of inappropriation with children or anything like that. And then you still have the Catholic community that's so solid. They get attacked all the time. But this ship sells very smoothly regardless. You still have people that still
the Catholics own mass amounts of property.
Yeah.
I mean, the Vatican has a lot of money as well.
Yes.
So, I mean, let's not forget that. But I think that and that's what I'm trying to say. To me, it kind of goes back and forth, and that's why I always say the majority of people don't have real. I don't even know if real outrage exists anymore, because, like I said, we can go back for decades about Catholic priests molesting boys, and it's kind of sort of just swept under the rug. And then all of a sudden, it's like I'm supposed to be mad about these allegations against R. Kelly. I mean, there's been more allegations against the Catholic Church than anyone else, but it still doesn't excuse what R. Kelly allegedly did.
Absolutely,
but then it still doesn't excuse what Michael Jackson is now being brought to the forefront that he allegedly did. And like I said on my other show, if we're going to get into this I'm going to go and I'm going to go through your entire history to decide whether or not your music is worthy enough to be played on the radio. Then all I got to say is I'll take your R. Kelly, no convictions, and I'll raise you Chris Brown. Are we perfectly fine with the fact that he was an abusive boyfriend? And I mean, we still have those pictures available, and it's perfectly fine for him to basically go on with his life, make some number one albums again.
That does not.
What's the difference?
The difference is
how does that not apply?
He was found guilty.
Correct. Even though but if you look at how his career, what did his career suffer for him going to jail?
Like a hiatus for a few years. He couldn't even go to award shows because the restraining order in place. Like, he did suffer. I would say he suffered, and let's not forget the drug use was prompted by that.
Oh, come on, man. Well, but what I'm saying, like, if you say he suffered, I'm saying like now he's still making millions again. He's still doing shows. He's still doing concerts. He's still back popular. I think most people would say that Justice would have been he not getting any radio play again. Justice would say that he's not as popular, if not even more popular than he was before it even happened.
Well, let me ask do you think R. Kelly's music is scandal proof? Like Dave Chappelle said on one of the shows, he said, I mean, do you think this will all pass if he's not convicted? And he'll go on to make great music.
Yeah, I think that, and this was like a meme on social media, but I think it's true. I think, first of all, let's just say this: R. Kelly is now in jail for child support, owing back child support over $100,000. He is not in jail on these charges; they are not related. He's in jail because he could not pay. But I do think that R. Kelly is a musical genius, and that
I agree.
Anything that occurs to him is going to turn into music art. And he could go to jail for years and release music from jail, and it would still be a hit.
And I think what's a tragedy is even with Michael Jackson is that we forget all of the body of work they built.
Yeah.
We only remember the scandals. We don't remember
R. Kelly was saying
the history of all of this.
He said no one says anything good. You act like this is all that I'm known for.
Yeah.
But I was just gonna say this. I mean, but it's still to me is, and that's just the way I look at it. Like in a lot of these situations, what do I know you for? I know you for music. I don't look at R. Kelly as a moral compass. I need R. Kelly to make good music. What he does on his own time is between him and the court system. If the courts put him in jail, that's the reason why, like I said, I only brought up Chris Brown because I don't feel like it's a correct comparison. All I'm saying is people were very quick to forgive Chris Brown, and he was actually convicted of something. All I'm saying is R. Kelly has not yet been convicted of anything, and his music has already been removed. His music is already, people will already basically saying he's guilty, he's disgusting, he's all of these different things. And that's the only thing that I'm saying. Why is it that we forget someone who was actually convicted of something and it's okay to play his music, and his music doesn't have, like, I promise, like, I drive ride share apps and things like that. And if an R. Kelly song comes on my playlist, I skip it. Only because, like, I feel like somebody like, well, why are you playing this music in the car? And that's just me personally.
I literally put on Ignition yesterday because I was ready to turn up in the car. And I was like, I need to hear Ignition. I need to hear him in that Cassidy remix for Hotel. Like, these are things I need to hear periodically to keep me alive. I'm not giving it up.
Well, the problem is this. The court of public opinion is trying to outweigh the
court of public opinion are snowflakes. Okay, everything just makes them angry.
But people pay attention to that so strongly. You know, people gossip and they sit around a water cooler and talk about R. Kelly and, I bet he done this and all of that. And it's not people that look at it rationally. It's simply that people that the media is so strong today that when we hear these rumors about his personal life and his behavior, Solomon hit it on the head. He said, I like his music. I'm not going to judge him by his moral principles and things like that. But society will. And that'll hurt him down the line, especially if he's trying to make money, if he's trying to book concerts. People say, I won't go to his concert. You got all these groups that are anti R. Kelly for this reason, and you have the hashtags that's going on with anti this and anti that. And it is really kind of crazy, the society we're living in today, that is based really in the media. Once the media runs with it and gets it out there, and it's up to the opinions of the public, if it's negative, especially if it's liberal, they're just going to jump all over it and say, okay, yeah, we'll accuse him for that, even though he hadn't been charged for it.
But didn't Woody Allen marry his adopted daughter?
Absolutely. You know, Woody Allen.
Well, that was
a different time.
Huh?
The excuse is that was a different time.
There's never a different time where you marry your adopted daughter. Like, I don't ever see how that works.
But according to public opinion, there is. I mean, okay, if we're talking about that being acceptable, then why, like 3 years ago, was a man who hadn't known? Oh, she was adopted, right? Oh, never mind.
Yeah, but that's right. See, when you're adopted, it's completely different because you had to go out and actually put that petition in. You understand what I'm saying? And you actually said, "Oh, I want to adopt her as my child." So somehow that parental role turned romantic, and you got to be able to think like that's.
Why is that non-chargeable when, like 3 years ago, this guy had never met his daughter? She was like 20 when he met her. He met her for the first time, and they fell in love, and they had a baby, and they had jailed both of them. Why is that different and chargeable, and Woody Allen situation wasn't?
Well,
because it's blood. Well, that's blood, so it's a little different. Yeah, but it's still going to be considered incest. That's the only reason why. If you adopt someone, then it's a little different when you're not.
Predatory behavior, going out your way to adopt and have sex with someone.
And I think, I think the demographics make the decisions for a lot of this. R. Kelly, his drawing is mostly Black fans and this and that, and I think that has a weigh in, whether we want to admit this or not, that it weighs in on a whole lot of decisions through the court of public opinion, not necessarily the judicial courts, for a celebrity's career. I think that depending on who it is, weighs in a whole lot strong as opposed to, say, if Paul McCartney was in a sex scandal, would he get the same treatment as Bill Cosby?
No, everybody likes Paul McCartney.
Right. My point exactly. He's historic and all of that kind of stuff. So would we treat Paul McCartney left-handedly as opposed to how Bill Cosby got slammed? So what if that surfaced and something like that happened?
That's a good point. The next thing I wanted to bring up, Solomon's favorite guy, Sherrod Brown. How do you say his name? The Democrat who was running for president.
It's not Sherrod, it's Sherrod.
Now it's Sherrod. Oh, the one we thought was Black who's not Black. He announced today that he's no longer running for president, even though he completed the first stages of running. He says that his political mantra, the dignity of work, will continue against Donald Trump, just from the Senate. However, I think this is kind of because there's like 20 candidates running for Democrat, right?
I saw 12 the other day.
I seen a list of 20, but some were unconfirmed. How does that even work? How is that even acceptable? There should be a limit because now just anybody's running. And does that whole, you're stealing votes from the ideal candidates, does that apply? Like, how do you feel about that? I mean, you're down there.
I just feel like, well, my thing is like this, and this is how I look at all these candidates. As long as the candidate is not for this income inequality or wealth redistribution, I'll be fine, because I think a lot of people are, and I think they're very misinformed, a lot of their constituents, because people don't understand what wealth redistribution means as far as what the candidates are talking about. You know what I mean? Like, they're basically saying, like, what we're going to do is we're going to take a lot of money from rich people and we're going to even things out. Okay, so then somebody who's naive is going to be like, oh, great, take the money from the rich and you're going to give it to me. No, it goes to the government. It doesn't go to you. So all they're going to do is they're basically going to minimize the ceiling. So if you ever want to pull yourself out of poverty, guess what happens once you finally get out? They're just going to tax the hell out of you. So it's just stupid.
It's kind of like what they talked about 2 years ago. They're cutting out the middle class. It's going to be one or the other. I mean, that's the only way to do it.
I've been saying that for years, and your mother can contest to that. It's going to be the haves and the have-nots. And someone has a book published with that same title. I got to find that.
And it's funny. When I was younger, he used to say they were going to build a wall between us.
Yeah.
And that they should build a wall with the poor people on one side and the haves on the other side, because that's the only way you could avoid jealousy and crime and things like that.
True.
It's gonna be like the Hunger Games. That's what's gonna happen.
And we're laughing about it right now, but who knows what the years are going to develop to come? You know, it's going to the cavity is just going to widen so strongly. You know, it's just, I mean, statistics prove it. You know, in certain communities with certain demographics, they don't have educations and they're not getting. I shared this with someone real quick, and I know it's kind of off the track, so to speak. Of if you walk in the hospital, if you see security first and nurses, and then you see doctors, you're going to see a certain demographic. And they said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "You're going to see mostly Blacks as a security force. You're going to see a mixed ratio of nurses, but you're going to see mostly Jewish and different and doctors, Asians, and some Indian demographics as the physicians." And I said, any hospital you go into in the city, you're going to see that. As I'm just making a point, is that the qualification aspect is if you don't implement some type of success ratio or some type of a stimulus that, I'm not saying everybody's going to make it, but if you have a positive family role and a positive family influence, your chances of getting there will be a lot greater than if you don't have that. And I said, people take, my professor told me, why I say all that, my professor years ago told me, he said, you know, they do jobs that just everybody else don't want. And I'm like, wow, you know, that's seems like that's prejudicial. But if you go into these hospitals in the yard, go in the yards, or if you're going to visit someone, you'll see all of that. And it's interesting to think of how things are set up that way.
Well, before we end the show, I just want to touch on one thing that's related. I noticed a lot of candidates are now talking about climate change, which is rare because the last election cycle it really wasn't touched on. Yeah. They're actually using it as a platform now. And I'm probably going to get a lot of heat for this, but, you know, I am a Republican, oh my God. And I don't necessarily believe in climate change, but I do believe that if we keep consuming the Earth's resources, they will eventually become limited, and that we should all try to live cleaner, greener, and more efficiently. Hence my reusable water bottle and my electric car.
$50?
It was 20, and my electric car and the stupid aluminum straws I make my kids use when they go out. You know, because like, you know, we want to reuse so that when they get older, there'll still be trees around, you know, like imagine hundreds of years from now, there's not a tree in sight. You know, we need that for clean air. We need that for a lot of things. And absolutely. I think that people are saying, pick a side. One is based in science and one isn't. I don't think it's that complicated. I think if you try to reduce the resources that we consume, we can live longer and healthier. It's that simple. If you think back to before Thomas's time, way back, most of the food that was grown was non-GMO, you know, no steroids or anything.
What all of that meant. That's true.
It was all fresh, you know, so you didn't have to worry about your kids being 8 with double D's because that added hormone wasn't involved. It just was that simple. And yes, there are.
What? Oh, no. Yeah, I mean, I had sent you a tree the other day, so hopefully I'm hoping you got it in the mail. A tree? Yeah, so you can have something to hug.
I think if we consider our resources, you're gonna minimize your health issues down the line, and Naomi's definitely on point with it with her children, because that'll diminish health issues going forward. That's going to get even more expensive, like college will.
Well, and you know, it's just about little things. Like I get my nails done. I just started getting that gel polish. People don't know this, but when you get this gel polish, you put it in this little infrared LED light, and it cures it. And my nail girl thinks I'm crazy because I put sunscreen on every time before I put it in the light. And she says, "Why are you doing that? It's not that strong." I said, "Continued over time, it gives you the same effect. Put the sunscreen on." Obviously, because you don't know what's in that to cause something. You see little RJ, we were at the market. He goes, those Frosted Flakes aren't healthy, mommy. We have to get the healthy one with no sugar.
Right.
Those little things like that is what your kids remember. It's like how you train them almost.
Well, this is why the have and the have-nots are going to come about. If you're not, and we live in the media that we can find anything online that we need to research, but people don't implement that for their kids. And even the poorest person or the least educated person can implement that. They have a healthier lifestyle.
Yeah, I don't even think
for whatever reason they don't choose to do so.
But it doesn't have to do with finances. Like, okay, there's a farm near us. We can buy an entire cow, a whole cow for $500. The cow will last you a year and a half. No added hormones or anything. Like you can live this life willingly and low cost if you just are motivated. I don't know, Solomon, are you motivated to live a cleaner life?
No. No. I'm not motivated at all. I'm sorry. Like I will. Why? You said why not? It's just, I mean, when you say cleaner life, I'm motivated to do some things on my own. Like, I'm going to grow my own chickens. I'm going to grow my own plants. But as far as like, recycling and using certain types of straws or anything that causes me to throw anything in another separate container besides the trash, no.
So you're saying it's too much work?
It's not too much work. I'm just not, like you said, I'm just not motivated to do it at this point in time. Maybe it'll change over time. Maybe, like I said.
There's a lot of people that like Haagen-Dazs has now, they got reusable ice cream containers now. Because they'd rather you use them instead of keep making the plastic and the products like that. But it comes from consumers. So like the more consumers stop buying things that are made of plastic and the more they start using reusable containers, the more the manufacturers will make it easier to do so.
Yeah. And as Naomi stated earlier, I grew up in an era where all of this didn't exist. Put your trash out regardless. Whatever is in there is trash. And that was the genesis of having environments suffer along the way, I don't know if it was lack of knowledge or what it was, but now that we are knowledgeable, we should be responsible, especially with you parents.
When I've gone to China, you step off the plane, the smog in the air is so thick, it hits you in the face. You literally need a mask to breathe. It is the whole time you're there walking around, you can barely breathe. I don't want my kids to get to that point where that's what happens. We walk outside and it's like, oh my God, like this is what we did to our environment. You know what I mean? Like, how do we stop? We're going to be like India, where every time you walk somewhere, it's a mouse running over your feet, and it's species in our water. It's only but so much we can do before we get to those extreme measures. But that was something I felt like that needed to be said because not everybody shares my view. That's why we have this podcast, so I can say what I want to say. Okay.
Yeah, I'll tweet that you're for the Green Deal. Gotcha.
I didn't say that. I'm not with labels. I'm not for anything. And that Green Deal.
You're for the Green Deal. It's not. It's fine. It's Hey, let's not put ourselves in a box, right?
Ludicrous language in that deal. No, thank you.
I think it's just her being a responsible parent.
I'm a hippie.
And developing a growth for her children. Yeah.
That's fine.
The Green Deal was just a mess. Oh God.
Especially when you have choices, because look at the person that doesn't have that's indigent, that doesn't have the resources to give the right proper diets and things to their kids. They go run to the chicken place and go.
Do you think I want to spend? Yeah. Do you think I want to spend $7.50 on milk? Hell no, I don't spend $7.50 on milk. But I do it because I know the milk doesn't have all this bullshit in it.
It's the best. I don't want my kids
being having these deformities because he drinks like a damn near gallon of milk every 2 days. Like I don't want to pay high prices for things,
but you know where the savings will come in medically down the line.
My kids don't really have any.
He's not at the doctor's office all the time because he drank whatever McDonald's gave him in some cup or something, whatever. So.
All right, we're gonna end this week's. We're gonna end a little early, guys. We had a lot of technical issues going on, and it's spring break. It's spring break. We've all kind of taken a spring break lately.
I have one question. What kind of car are you buying next? Because I already got the 411.
Who told you this 411?
Yes. Your mom blabs and has a big mouth.
We were supposed
to
be picking up this new car that just dropped in America. Literally, like it dropped like a week ago.
Are you gonna put the coin in the thing and it comes down and all that?
No, we got to get this shipped up from like the dealership, but we're not going to do it because Ray wants to wait for a Tesla. So
is it your car? Or is it Ray's car? Is it family?
It was going to be my car. It was going to be my car. So it's one of the first electric compact.
I was going to say, does it run on corn?
If we can only wish it would run on.
I'm just asking.
No, it's a Hyundai. I don't know how to say that.
That would be interesting.
Hyundai. It's a Hyundai. It's not a Hyundai. It's Hyundai.
Hyundai Kona EV all electric.
Man.
So
that just made my night.
But
wait, a Hyundai Kona EV all electric?
Yeah, it's 250 miles electric.
I thought the Kona was a truck though. It's like an SUV.
It's an SUV, but now it's an electric version. So yeah. I was ready to look. The girl's been calling me every day. I'm trying to talk to Ray, but Ray wants the Tesla. I want the Kona. So until we can decide,
is Tesla? Is that the car? Is that the dealership? Tesla makes very nice cars.
Yeah,
I'm not allowed
very expensive cars too.
Until we get the car. So
wow.
Well, all right.
The Kona or the damn Tesla. Okay.
All right. Well, works for me. Congratulations. And
what is the show going to be about on Monday?
What is my show going to be out on Monday?
You don't know? Oh, this is a first. You always.
I know, man. Hey, it's been a long week, man. It's been a long week. I've been up since 4 a.m. So yeah, it's been a long day, long week. Yeah. Working like the rest of America. Hard at work.
Okay, first of all, I want to just say before we end, I've been a stay-at-home mom for like 3 weeks, and it's so hard.
Yeah.
Like, I was a stay-at-home mom before because I.
Good night. Good night. Good night. I'm not saying it's difficult, but I went to work at 4 a.m. and you said being a stay-at-home. Good night. Good night.
Well, do like Weezy and get someone to take care of your house.
No, but like I used to work like 2 to 3 days a week and be like, oh my God, this is so hard. No.
You need a maid.
I tried to hire one. Ray started cleaning when she got here. But it's so hard because people don't think like, okay, I'm here all day. I have a nap time around 1 or 2. And then Ray has to go to work and he's like, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that?
You got to get a maid, but she has to be smoking hot and Ray will approve it.
No.
Now, it is a threat to you.
I only want old maids.
Get a hot maid and he'll go along with it.
I like 16-year-old maids or 80. There's no in between.
Yeah, you got to get somebody really hot, long haired and the whole nine. Yes, somebody exotic. So that way your husband will go along with it.
You know where we live? I'm the most exotic thing in a 30 mile.
He'll pay for it.
You know what? Goodbye. All right, where is
Good night.
I can't believe I paid for this show tonight. This is terrible.
People like, where's the maid at? She's so
Let me go ask Janice if she's issued my refund.
She'll be driving the electric car.
Oh man, it's gonna be all off the rails again.
My wife doesn't drive that anymore. You can go right along with it.
Oh my God.
Plug it back in.
Oh, this is bad. This is so bad.
I'm sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. That's what edit buttons are for. But
I'm not editing this shit, man. Going on here.
Oh my God. Can we at least get this off of YouTube, please? So we stop. You could have stopped this for YouTube like 8